You're in my spot.
I am on a crusade to bring back book tags. I love book tags. They make me ask myself questions that I otherwise probably wouldn't, and they help me learn new things about both myself and other people and reading in general. I also find them very cozy, and they remind me of a time on BookTube where you could just stumble upon something great without ever expecting it. And paradoxically, now that there's so much more abundance of people to watch, it is way more difficult somehow to just again stumble upon something unexpected and lovely. Unless you're actually digging, looking for that and scrolling endlessly, which I have actually been doing recently and having the best time with that. I have decided to do a Throwback Thursday at least once a month where I bring back an old book tag. And the one that we're doing today is the A to Z Survey Booktag, which was created 8 years ago by perpetualpageturner. Unfortunately, she has not posted a video on her BookTube channel in 7 years. However, she still seems to be posting on her blog, which I will link in the video description for you to check out. I had a great time reading through it. This book tag contains 26 questions, one for each letter of the alphabet. And we're gonna do them a little bit rapid fire as I am capable of, but if you get bored at some point, there are timestamps in the video description so you can jump to the next question if you want to. Without further ado, let's begin. And I apologize for the glare, but I'm gonna put my glasses on because I am nearly blind. Question number 1. Author you've read the most books from? That is pretty easy for me. This is Brandon Sanderson. I have read 27 of his works. Question number 2. Best sequel ever? That is also very easy, and I have 3 books here and I have them on my bookshelf. Should I bring them? This is gonna be a lot of work. I'll bring them. Okay, so as I've already mentioned, I have 3 books here, the first of which is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. This is the most recent one that I've read of the 3, and this is the second book in the Hunger Games series. I loved Hunger Games, but this one I liked even better for some reason. I don't know, I just enjoyed it so much more. It made me more excited about the series as a whole. The second book I'm going to talk about is Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. This is the second book in the First Law trilogy, the first one being The Blade itself, which I actually loved, but this one was on a whole new level. It brings the quest element to the thing, which is one of my favorite things. I loved where the characters went. I loved the things they discovered. I loved their development as a whole. Great book. And book number 3 is gonna be Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. This is the second book in the Stormlight Archive series, and while I love The Way of Kings, I think it's one of the best books out there. It's one of my favorite books, if not my favorite one. Well, this one is also my favorite one, and it made me so excited about the series. This book is 1100 pages long, and I read it within 2 days. I didn't sleep, I didn't go out, I didn't do anything but read this book, and I had the best time. By the end of it, I could barely see, my eyes were leaking, I couldn't focus them, I needed to take 3 days to recover, but I don't regret it for 1 second because this was so good. Perfection. Question number 3. Currently reading? Okay, so I'm not gonna get up and get all of these books. I realize that that's a lot of work. I'm just gonna put their covers up here. I'm currently reading 4 things. I know. The first of which is Circe by Madeline Miller, which is a mythological fantasy and is on my March TBR. The second is Crooked Kingdom, which is a young adult fantasy and the second book in the Six of Crows duology and is a leftover from my February TBR. The third one is Full Moon by Jim Butcher, which is an urban fantasy and the second book in the Dresden Files series. I read this because I really wanted to read it. Mood read. I picked it up. I'm having a great time. And the fourth and last one is White Sand by Brandon Sanderson, which is the second graphic novel in the White Sand series. And I've read it before. I am rereading it because I am trying to remember some things for a project. Question number 4. Drink of choice while reading. Well, that is usually coffee, but I also love drinking tea, so it's either coffee or tea. Question number 5. E-reader or physical book? Well, this is a little bit complicated because it depends. If I'm traveling, I prefer ebook anytime, any place, because it is easy to carry with me and it's easy to read in different light conditions. Whether it's light or dark, or if I have a lot of space or none whatsoever, or if I'm eating or if I'm doing something else, it's very easy to whip out the e-reader and just go ahead. But if I'm in the comfort of my own home, I will always prefer a physical book. There's nothing like flipping a page or smelling the paper. There's something about that experience. So yeah, depending on the circumstances, I guess. Question number 6. Fictional character you probably would have actually dated in high school. Okay, this is a very complicated question because I wasn't much about dating in high school. I was studying and working and it was a lot. But let's see, what kind of taste did I have actually in high school? It would have probably been somebody very cocky and annoying. So probably the prince from Throne of Glass, what's his name? Dorian. That probably would have been the guy I would have dated in high school if he wasn't fictional and I was actually dating. Question number 7. Glad you gave this book a chance. Okay, I'm not sure whether this question means a book that you didn't want to pick up but you're glad you picked up, or a book that you picked up and you didn't really like in the beginning but you're glad you continued. So I will answer the question for both. So a book that I wasn't very sure about picking up but I'm glad I actually did is A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. This is a historical fiction about 2 women in Afghanistan throughout Afghanistan's somewhat recent history, and it's definitely not something that I would have seen in the bookstore and picked up of my own volition, but a friend of mine mentioned that I should give it a try, that it's great, so I did without knowing anything about it, and I'm really glad I picked it up. So I advise you to if you haven't yet as well. And when it comes to a book that I started, wasn't sure whether I liked, but I'm glad I continued with it, that is Caliban's War by James S.A. Corey, which is the second book in the Expanse series. It was on my February TBR, but I actually read it this month, and to be honest with you, I didn't have the best time in the beginning. I was a little annoyed by some of the characters and the things they were doing and the morality of the book as a whole, but I'm very glad I gave it a chance and continued with it, because by the end of the book it actually vindicated itself in a lot of ways, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing with the series. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Question number 8. Hidden gem book. I'm guessing this is going to refer to a book that I found amazing but is not very famous. What could that be? I'm very basic. I only read famous stuff, I guess. Okay, I don't know if you can count this as a hidden gem because the author is relatively famous, but I will put here Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson, which is a so far standalone young adult fantasy. I read it last year and loved it, absolutely loved it. I loved the main character, I loved the setting, all of it, but I haven't heard a lot of people speak about it, so I am gonna kind of consider it as a hidden gem. If you haven't given it a read, I advise you to do so. I personally am not a big fan of young adult fantasy, but this one I absolutely adored. Question number 9. Important moment in your reading life. Ooh, okay, so it's gonna have to be back in 2018. I haven't read in a many years, maybe 10 years in my life. I barely read anything, and it was mostly rereading my favorite books every now and again, but I couldn't have read more than 3 books a year, if that. And then 2018, I discovered BookTube, and I discovered Brandon Sanderson for the first time in my life. And since then, I have been reading very consistently. It has been one of my favorite things to do, and it gave a new bout of energy, if you will, to me and to my life as a whole. I'm so grateful for that. Question number 10. Just finished? Okay, just finished Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This was again on my March TBR and had a good time, though I didn't like it as much as most of her other works. Question number 11, I think. Kinds of books you won't read. Okay, I don't know if the question refers to a genre here, and I don't think there is a genre I absolutely refuse to read. There are some that are less favorite to me and I'm less likely to pick up, but I don't have that one. I'm guessing it's gonna be a contemporary book that is overtly political, because I have enough of that in real life and I'm already fed up with all of it, so I guess I will stay away from those. And also very scary books. I'm a bit of a wimp. I wouldn't read that because I don't see the point of torturing myself with something that is gonna make me very uncomfortable, and in that way I also refuse to read erotica books. It's not for me. It makes me feel, it makes my skin crawl. I swear it's worse than the horror books, so I don't see the point of doing this to myself. Question number 12. Longest book you've read? I'm guessing this is gonna have to be one of the Stormlight Archive books, so let me see which one is the longest. Okay, yeah, so I was correct, and the longest book I've ever read is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, which is the third book in the Stormlight Archive, and is 1,233 pages long. Question number 13. Major book hangover because of... Okay, so I'm guessing the majorest of major book hangovers I've ever had was after reading the third book in the first era of the Mistborn series, The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. Honestly, after reading this finale, I had to sit here and just stare at a spot and maybe walk around, and I think I didn't read anything for like a month after that. Question number 14. Number of bookcases you own. Okay, I'm guessing I can count each of those as a separate thing, although they're not the same in size. I have some books other places, but these are the actual bookcases that I own. Actually, one of them is not even mine. I rent this place and this one is for rent, so I'm guessing I own 3 bookcases. Question number 15, is it? One book you have read multiple times. There are many of those. We can start with every single book in the Harry Potter series. These are the books that I have reread the most in my life. I think I've read each and every single one of those at least 5 times. And the last one, the Deathly Hallows, I have read way more than that. Question number 16. Preferred place to read. I love reading in bed. It's obviously very cozy, but I also love reading on the couch here, actually on that L part of it. It's an L-shaped one, but I don't want to move my camera to show you. But I also love reading outside, somewhere on a very comfortable chair and just looking at nature. And if you have trees and stuff around, yeah, that's gonna be it, I guess. Question number 17. Oh my God. Quote that inspires you or gives you all the feels from a book you've read. Okay, many of those, but I'm gonna go with the obvious one, and that is from The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, and it goes, life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. These are the ancient oaths taken by the Knights Radiant, and I love the meaning of them. They refer to the nature of life and how we eventually, all of us, become old and weak and eventually die, but it's important to live life before that and be strong before that and give your best no matter what, because the journey is more important, as we already know the destination and we shouldn't despair regardless. I really love that. It's a phrase to live by. Question number 18. Reading regret. Okay, it's something that I already mentioned a little bit earlier, and it's the fact that I spent so many years of my life pretty much not reading at all. I have loved reading ever since I learned to read when I was 4 or 5 years old. And I had read so many books in my childhood and in my early teens, and then life started happening and I had to study and work at the same time to be able to, well, pay for things because my family was very poor at the time. I was so focused on working and on saving money and just benign everyday life stuff like everybody, and I didn't spare any time for reading. Despite the fact that I could have, I just chose to relax in a different way, and I missed so many opportunities in my life to read so many more books because we have limited time, and now I'm never gonna be able to read as many books in my life as I could have. And while I don't think that I necessarily wasted my time, I will always regret the fact that I spent so long away from books. Question number 19. Series you started and need to finish, a series where all the books are out. Oh my God, so many. I'm currently in the middle of reading more than 50 series. I guess I'm just gonna go with The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. I read the first 2 books, Malice and Valor, and I still need to read Ruin and Wrath. Question number 20. 3 of your all-time favorite books. Oof. Okay, so while I was wondering which books to pick, my camera ran out of memory, so I had to free up some, and if you see any change in angle, that's the reason why. Okay, so the books that I stopped on for this question were, to not repeat myself with The Way of Kings all the time, I will select A Game of Thrones for fantasy, 2001 A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke for sci-fi, and Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery for classics. I have a lot of others that can qualify as my all-time favorites, but I will stop on these 3 because they are the most fresh in my memory, I guess. Question number, I don't remember anymore, so we can just go with the next question, which is Unapologetic Fangirl for... I guess I'm gonna go again with Brandon Sanderson and everything that he has written. I don't care what people say about simplistic writing style and that they're better people when it comes to writing fantasy or when it comes to writing world or characters. I don't care about any of that. I think everything that he has written, nearly everything that he has written, is fantastic, and the stories that he crafts more than anything else speak to me, so I would go with anything Brandon Sanderson. Next question. Very excited for this release more than all the others. Okay, so this is the year of Sanderson. Oh my god, I feel like this video has been all me talking about him, but he has the secret projects coming out this year, and there are 3 more remaining before the end of the year, so I'm very excited about those. And on top of that, I will go with God Killer by Hannah Kaner. It's because I love this cover and I love the synopsis and the idea of the book. I feel like this book might turn into a big disappointment because I have such high expectations, but it just came out last month, I think, and I'm super excited about it. I already have 2 editions of this book. You can see one of them over here, the other one is behind it. So I'm very excited about reading it. I might even pick it up very soon. Next question. Worst bookish habit? I do sometimes leave my books open facing down when I can't find a bookmark, which is hilarious because I have like 300 in my house, but sometimes they're too far and I just leave it like that for a little bit. I also have this thing where when I'm very invested in a story and I'm super invested in the characters and I'm scared for what's gonna happen to them, sometimes, not very often, but it has happened that I will flip towards the last chapter and check what happens to them to make sure that I'm prepared for no matter what. You know, I'm not gonna stop reading if they die or something, but I would like to be emotionally prepared for what's gonna follow. I know that it's terrible, but it's something that I sometimes do. Next question is X marks the spot. Start at the top left of your shelf and pick the 27th book. Okay, for this, I'm guessing I should be facing the bookshelf, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, the book is The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the 3rd book in the Broken Earth trilogy. I haven't read any of the books in this series yet, but I am super excited to pick the first one up very soon. Next question is your latest book purchase. Okay, let's see. I have all of them listed in a table in a Google Sheet, so I can easily pick which one is the latest one. And that is Sea Sparrow by Christine Cashore. This is the 5th book in the Graceling Realm series, which I haven't read any of those books. I know the first one is called Graceling, and I've been thinking of reading it a few years ago, and still I haven't. And I don't even own these books because they are very difficult to find, but I saw this one in the store and I picked it up because I wanted to complete the series and actually start reading through it, but I haven't managed to do that yet. My book buying habits are terrible, and I even am considering putting a book buying ban on myself for a little bit so that I can actually read through the books that I already have. The next and last question is, I guess, snatched book. Last book that kept you up way late. It's been a while since I actually stayed up all night to read a book. I think the last one I can remember would be Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. I think I stayed up until like 3 o'clock in the morning to be able to finish it because I was super curious to know how it's gonna end, and there was some very tense moments. So yeah, I guess that's the last one that made me do that. And that, my friends, is the A to Z Survey Booktag. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I sure did enjoy responding to these questions. It's always nice to look back upon reading and seeing how many things you didn't know about yourself. I'm not gonna tag anyone, but please, if you want to do the tag, feel tagged. I would be so happy to see your answers either in the comment or in a YouTube video or in an Instagram post or something. And if you do, please tag me so that I can go watch it and enjoy your answers. Thank you so much for watching. And if you'd like to see some of the other book tags I have done, check out this playlist. Bye!